It's the Stadium Series. Any thoughts on Gene Hackman and his illustrious career? 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620, or you can just hit me up on social at Chad and Rip City. Now at 420, we're going to do something a little bit different today. A good friend of mine and a entrepreneur, business owner here in the local area, Celeste Trapp, is going to join me in studio. And I don't know how often we're going to do it yet. We're still working out some of the finer details, but we're basically going to talk about what women want. What do they want? I can tell you, I'm 49 years old. I have no idea. That's why Celeste is coming in. We're going to talk about different things. We'll go inside the mind of the female, and we'll try to figure this stuff out. I have no idea. What does a woman want? Do you have any idea? As some of you might think you have an idea, or maybe some of you guys are just so good that you know everything, and you're so phenomenal in your marriage, your relationships, or whatever the case may be, that you don't need help. Maybe. But Celeste is going to join me in studio, so I think we'll enjoy that conversation. But I am feeling pretty good. I am really bitter because I have multiple people who are texting me pictures from the golf course right now because they're losers and don't want to work today. It's like 64 degrees and spectacular. I had one guy reach out and said, hey, would you like to play golf tomorrow? And I'm like, no, I've got things to do. I can't. I have to continue to remain calm and focus on my practice, knowing that the Trailblazer season is nearing the end, and that once that happens, officially April 14th, if you want to send me mail, just send it to a golf course. I'll probably pick it up there. I have to wait, though. I'm jonesing to get out, and today is beautiful. Also, I want to take a moment to wish my wonderful son, Isaac, a happy birthday today. On this day, back in 2003, my son Isaac was born. Isaac Matthew Dewing. Many of you have heard him on the radio over the years. Well, today he turns 22 years old. 22. And he's pretty excited. So I made a couple of special trips around town this morning to secure his birthday presents. I heard of a birthday present he's going to get later today that he'll be excited about, which could prevent future meltdowns that I witnessed this past weekend. So Isaac is 22 today. And what's amazing is that, around age 3 when he was diagnosed with autism and seeing his capabilities at that time, I never envisioned Isaac being so self-reliant and have the ability to communicate and do all the different things that he does. Now, today, I believe he was hanging out at his favorite Starbucks with the old people to celebrate his birthday, and he's having a good time. So, son, I just want to tell you I love you. I'm very proud of you, and I cannot believe that you're 22 years old. That's crazy. My daughter just turned 15. Isaac's now 22. And every time I look in the mirror, I'm not exactly the same that I used to be 20 years ago. Got a lot more gray hairs coming in. But Isaac's freaking 22. Crazy. All right, we keep things rolling. Got any thoughts on Gene Hackman? What a legend he was. And what a life he lived. And how many great movies did he have? Unbelievable. All right, Celeste Trapp, What Women Want at 420. We'll pay tribute to Donn Coss in the 5 o'clock hour. And coming up next, we're going to dive into Shaden Sharp kicking ass and taking names last night in D.C. I felt bad for Denny Avdia. I had to leave the game with the quad. That's unfortunate because that was his first trip back to D.C. since being dealt to the Trailblazers. But his teammates had his back and got the win. All right, Thursday, it's beautiful. It's my son's birthday. Let's get this thing going. You got the RipCityDrive with Chad doing. All right, Rip City Drive. I do believe that Gene Hackman is the best Lex Luthor in history.
Straight climb. Miss Tessmacher!
Aaron Fincher has sent that to me. Miss Tessmacher! Love that. Gene Hackman was an absolute legend. In fact, I got a message from Sean and Sandy who chimed in with his thoughts. He said, way to go, Isaac. Happy birthday. We wish him many more. Gene Hackman was one of the best. Loved him in Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. That's a good one. And me and my pops loved him in Mississippi Burning. Rest in peace, Mr. and Mrs. Gene Hackman. Yeah, no question. Mississippi Burning is phenomenal. And Unforgiven, phenomenal. And pretty much every role he played was spectacular. He's just one of those actors where if he was in it, you knew his role was going to be dialed in. He was that good. Miss Tessmacher!
Straight climb. Miss Tessmacher!
All right. If you got thoughts on Gene Hackman, hit me up on social at Chad and Rip City. You can call the show 503-248-0620 or find me on social at Chad and Rip City, or you can just send me a text 360-281-5473. Now, I want to turn my attention to the Portland Trailblazers for just a moment because last night what we saw from Shaedon Sharpe was exactly what we want to see from Shaedon Sharpe, and not just because of this.
Now drives the baseline into traffic, throws it away, and it's picked up by Champagnie. Then it's stolen by Sharpe. He goes up and packs it down with authority, the right-hand smash.
That was an incredible dunk, one of the best in-game dunks in franchise history, but most importantly, it was a great, complete, all-around game for Sharpe. Not just on offense, where he scored a career-high 36. He also grabbed 8 rebounds and 5 assists, but most importantly, he was attacking. He was not passive. He was aggressive early and often. In fact, he was the one who kind of carried the offense in a very sloppy first half when he had 18. Got to the free throw line, put up 10 free throws, and defensively he was locked in. And I think this is a great clip from Coach Billups after the game when asked if his defense had an impact with his offense. And this is critical for all young players to understand. Take a listen to Coach Billups.
You engage yourself defensively. It requires you to kind of get lost out there and focus in on what's necessary. And he's just so gifted on the other end of the floor. The ball's going to come to him, whether it's me calling a play for him or our guys just finding him. And I thought he just kind of got lost in the game today, and he was the best player on the floor.
Love that. Best player on the floor. But most importantly, when you're locked in defensively and you're engaged on that end, it spills over into your offense. And so he had the mentality of attack on defense. It spilled over into his offense, and he ended up having one of his best games ever and his best offensive game with 36 points, including that monster jam. But that's what we want from Shaedon Sharpe. At times, and you see it throughout this year, too passive. And that's why Coach has told him time and time again, bro, if you can take it over, take it over. If you can take the game over, take it over. You don't have to defer to anyone anymore. He's got that ability, and he's got the athleticism with the hops and everything. Like he's just got all sorts of potential. And I said it the other day, I really believe this. Of the 5 guys that we're falling in love with, Avdia, Kamara, Klingon, Scoot, and Sharpe, I believe Sharpe's got the highest ceiling of those 5, meaning if he plays to his potential, he can be a big-time star. And we saw a glimpse of that last night with that performance. It was fabulous. Coach Billups was also asked about Shaedon's dunk.
I'm still looking to see the replay. I know I said all over tonight. I just started laughing wow, man. Poor kid, the other kid up under him. So that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was. It was awesome. And Shaedon Sharpe showcasing the athleticism, being aggressive, and getting the job done. Now, the game last night, I think it was another example like we saw in Utah where they didn't have their best stuff. That first half was one of the more horrendous games I've seen in quite some time. A lot of turnovers, a lot of missed shots, especially from 3. It was not clean basketball from either side. But as I've said before, and you've got to really think about this, in the NBA with a long season, 82 games to be exact, and teams are flying in and out of different cities. They don't have a lot of time for practice. You get your shoot around, and boom, you're on the floor playing a game. Well, what that means is that teams are going to have stretches in the majority of games where they don't have their best stuff. Their A-plus game like we saw in that blowout win over Charlotte. That was A+. But you don't have that on most nights, meaning You're not going to be making shots. Maybe the three ball's not falling down. Maybe guys are turning it over. Your defense is lacking. Whatever the case may be, there's areas of your game that are not top-notch. So the question is, how do the good teams and what do the good teams do to be able to manufacture wins? Well, you can do it in a variety of different ways. Your defense, getting stops, that's always critical. Rebounding, so you can give yourself second and third chance opportunities, which the Blazers did last night. They got up 16 more shots than the Wizards did. And when you work like that, that's what it's all about. And the Blazers found another way to scratch out a win on a night when they didn't have their best stuff. What I really thought was pretty awesome, Scoot Henderson, another productive game. He led the bench, aside from Sharp, with 16 points. And then Chris Murray called upon because of the injury to Avdia. 5 of 9 from the floor, very efficient, 12 points, 6 boards, couple of blocks. I love his energy. And, like Coach says, he's always in the right spot. And then you get another strong performance from Jabari Walker. 12 points, 4 assists, 4 boards. And there you have it. The Blazers get the win. So very productive. 17 offensive rebounds. And they were once again strong in the paint. Now, Coach Billups did talk about Avdia. And you could tell that he understands how important that game was for him and unfortunate that he could not return to the lineup.
I did, and knowing that it was not much I can say to calm him down. This is a very emotional game for him. He poured his heart and soul into this organization, Washington, and so him leaving was a little bit of a surprise, so I knew he'd be excited to come back. He's still got a lot of friends over there, built some long relationships, but he's with us now, and he's happy to be here, and we were going to have his back, in this game, and we wanted to really win this game for Denny, so it's unfortunate that he got hurt in the game. Denny's a warrior. He never gets hurt, so if he goes off the floor, he's really hurting. So we just wanted to have his back, and I was happy to see him come back out there and support his teammates in the second half.
Boom. So Denny Avdia, felt bad for him. That was kind of his return, a chance to play against his former team, but had the quad injury and had to leave the game, exited it in the first half. It did not return, but he had other guys to step up and handle the business, which was great. Coach Billups also shared more thoughts on the game and the way it went down.
I liked a lot about it. Obviously, Shaden's career high. His scoring and his offense was incredible. I mean, it really was. All 3 levels, he was incredible the entire time. I thought his defense was high level as well. I really did. His rebounding, got some really, really big rebounds for us, some big stops for us. He was just so engaged. I was so impressed in the game. And then also Chris Murray. He's the other guy that really, really stood out to me in this game. The stats sheet said 2 blocks. I felt like he had 4, and just came up with some timely rebounds, some putbacks. He's always in the right spot. So those are the things I like the most about it.
There you have it. The Blazers get the win. That's now 3 straight wins. They've won the first 2 games on their 7-game road trip. They're going to be in Brooklyn tomorrow to take on the Nets. Tip-off will be at 4:30, and we'll have Blazers game day with Chris Burkhardt starting at 2:30. But again, the formula for success for this team throughout the year has been when they have multiple guys stepping up to make game-winning plays, when you have contributions from a variety of different guys. And that's what they got last night. 76 points off the bench. But most importantly, it was the young guys that powered the victory. 11 points, 3 steals, 5 boards, 2 assists for Kamara. Jeremy Grant did score 15, didn't shoot the ball well. Avdia only played 6 minutes in the game. Donovan Clingan, 18 minutes, 4 points, 8 rebounds, but off the bench, Jabari Walker, 12 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, big night. Chris Murray, as I mentioned, 12 and 6, 24 minutes in relief of Denny Avdia. Shaden Sharp, a career high, 36, 8 boards, 5 assists, and 16 from Scoot Henderson. So the young guys powering the win. Multiple guys stepping up to make game-winning plays. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. That's what it's all about. Now, I want you to take a listen to this. It's really good, but Shaden Sharp, in the postgame, it was Brooke Olsendam who caught up with him in the locker room, and she showed him the video and wanted him to walk her through what he was seeing on the floor when he had the dunk, and here's how that conversation went down. Take a listen.
Able to secure this win tonight?
We just stuck with it, played hard, played together, kept within the schemes they had and, had fun with it and, played hard.
Congratulations on your new career high, 36 points. You scored in a number of ways. How were you able to kind of carve up their defense like you did?
I really just we just took what the defense gave me. I've been in the gym, off the court, so, just trying to find my spots. And, big shout out to my teammates helping me get there, and it's just a blessing.
And we have to talk about that dunk heard around the world in the second quarter. Social media believes it might be your best dunk in game yet. What do you think?
I agree. I think it's one of the best ones. I don't know how I got there, but, I got it, and I think it was crazy.
When you go up, what's going through your mind? Are you planning something like that?
No, I just jumped. I thought I was too far, so I was going to throw it in, but then I kind of, rethought, and I said, why not try and dunk it? So I tried it, and, it happened. So.
It was a beautiful thing. Nice job tonight. Keep it rolling.
Thank you.
All right, there's Brooke. That was Shaedon Sharpe on the floor immediately after the game. Here he is in the locker room with Brooke showing him the video, and he walks us through what went down. Let's take a listen.
Okay, yeah, so when he had the ball, I was watching him the whole time, so I knew he was passing the ball. So I kind of read and kind of cheated. So once he threw it, I knew I had to steal. And then I seen dude in the way, so I just jumped and tried to dunk it, and it went in.
That was perfect. I already talked to you about it. You guys have questions?
Shaedon, just your thoughts on the game tonight. New career high for you. I think you had 18 points in the first quarter. It seems like you had things going from the start tonight.
I was just trying to be aggressive, and I think it started on the defensive end. Just trying to be aggressive. Just trying to get my teammates involved, and just trying to attack early. So that's what I did today.
You have this sort of, not your only one in your career, but it's this kind of signature moment tonight. But it comes in. Your coach was raving about your overall performance and just how well-rounded your game was tonight. Is it satisfying to be able to kind of do both in the same game?
I think it's really satisfying. My whole goal coming into the game was really trying to defend, and that was my whole focus for today. But so I think just playing defense, it carries over to offense, and I think that's what happened today. So.
Is your phone blowing up or anything?
A little bit. Instagram a little bit, but.
Shaedon, you were also you got 10 free throws tonight, too. How important is it for you to be able to get to the line and be able to get some easy buckets that way?
It's important. I think it's called free. I think it's called free throw for a reason. They're free. I left some change out there, though. I think I missed like 3, but just got to try and be aggressive. Yeah.
After your dunk, Denny said he asked you if he works really hard, can he ever jump as high as you? Do you think that he can one day? This is all yours.
Yeah, I think he can. I think if anyone works on their bounce or works on whatever, can achieve it. So yeah.
It's very nice of you. I'll tell him.
For sure.
Saying that was the best dunk that would have won the dunk contest if that was in the dunk contest.
Yeah, if they had a contest of who can punch on who, I think it'd be up there. But you're the only one out there in the dunk contest, so I don't know.
All right, there's Sharpe. He's so laid back. It's like, hey, Sharpe, hey, Shaedon, do you have a pulse, my friend? I love it, though, because at that level, like when he threw it down like that, like he expects to do that. So it's not a surprise to him. He's not stunned, and he didn't react and act like a fool afterwards. I respect the way he handled that moment. And he was talking more about his all-around game and the fact that he felt like he left some change out there at the free throw line. That's good. That's a good mentality to have if you're Shaedon Sharpe. But most importantly, when you see those moments, that's why we get excited about Shaedon. And what we're seeing right now with him and with Scoot is we're seeing progress. We're seeing development. We're seeing those two guys start to get a better feel and understanding of how to play the game, where they need to be, and the different things they need to do. And most importantly for Shaedon, aside from being aggressive and not passive, is just continue to work on the defensive end. And we're going to look back and probably thank Coach Bills for benching him when he did to get his attention about the defense and the attention to detail. But most importantly, to send the message that, hey, the reason why I'm not going to allow you to have that type of defensive effort is because you've got the potential to be great. And I think it's important to have a coach that will point that out, that will bench you and take away your time if needed, because he believes you've got a chance to be great. And that he doesn't want you to become a one-dimensional player, that he wants you to be feared on both ends. You don't want to be the offensive guy that other teams know they can take advantage of you on the defensive end. That you're a liability, that you're not going to work hard, that you're not going to fight through a screen. That you don't just die in screens. You know what I'm saying? That you'll contest. I love guys that give that type of effort. That's really what it comes down to. So there you have it. Also, by the way, little side note, I just discovered what hookah is. I have never tried hookah. I've seen a couple of hookah lounges bumping around. The last one I saw was right there on University Drive in Tucson. When you're walking up towards the football stadium through campus, when you exit the busy part of University across the way into the campus, there's a hookah lounge right there. And I didn't really know what it was. Like, I was like, well, it can't be weed because they're not going to be smoking weed on the sidewalk the way they're doing it down there. Apparently, as I was informed, it's like a flavored tobacco or something like that. Anyways, that's one of the concerns the Mavericks have, that Luka enjoys hookah. Luka loves hookah. So dumb. That he drinks, he likes his beer, and he likes hookah. Now, maybe there's going to be something that comes out that is a lot more serious than what we've heard so far. But if the main reason why you trade Luka, top 3 player in the world, is because he likes hookah and beer, you're going to need more than that. And you better pray to God that he doesn't end up just dominating for the next 10 years in a Laker uniform, or the Maverick fans will really hate you and never forgive you. Not even a chance in HE double hockey sticks that's going to happen. So I was talking with another gentleman today who is, well, he covers the league and is well-versed with a lot of different teams. And what he told me is similar to what Gavin Dawson mentioned on the air a few days ago, that the Mavericks are concerned about the investment level for Luka because they don't think his body will hold up long-term with his current habits. They don't think. Now, they're banking on that because if it does hold up and he continues to be Luka and he balls out for the next decade in a Laker uniform, it will go down as the worst trade of all time. But even this person I spoke with said it's absolute malpractice and insanity to trade Luka and not open it up to other teams and not give yourself a chance to bring back multiple first-round picks to retool your franchise in the future, especially after AD's done, and Kyrie, which is going to be in the very near future. How can you not get more first-round picks? Buffoons. But that's what they're banking on. The hookah and the beer and the lack of commitment to fitness is they think his body's going to break down. And the Lakers, of course, are banking on the fact that he's going to be fine in L.A., that maybe the sunshine and the lifestyle is going to help him be a little more motivated. It depends. I mean, it all depends on your genetic makeup. Some guys can be fat and ball. Some guys can't. Some guys have bodies that are just constructed in a way, God-given genetics where they can hold up. And it doesn't matter what they do to their body. And we all know people like that too, not just in athletics, but we have friends, people we know that have been in our life that treat their bodies like it's a garbage disposal, and yet they live to be super old and they're in perfect health. So we'll see how it works out with Luka. But there you go. Have you tried hookah? I have not tried hookah. I can honestly tell you. I have no desire. The one good thing our society has produced over the last, 20, 25 years is that somehow we made smoking uncool, and now people don't like to do it. And if you do it in public around other people, you're considered like a leper, that you should have a scarlet letter placed on you. That's the one good thing our society has produced, is that now we don't have to worry about being exposed to secondhand smoke all the time. I was joking with someone. Where was it? I can't remember who. Maybe it was Curtis Long, the principal, last night. We were joking about, dude, I used to get on airplanes, and they would have smoking sections in the back on your commercial jets with the little ashtrays and the little seat handles there. Remember that? You could smoke on a plane. Who in their right mind thought that was a good idea? Or going to the Denny's at night when you're hanging with your boys after cruising Highway 99. They would sit you next to the smoking section with that little glass thing that's supposed to prevent the smoke from coming over. And you'd walk out smelling like an ashtray with like partial black lung. I have to admit, that is kind of the turnoff. Like when you see a chick smoke, you know the mouth is gross. Yeah, it's weird. Hookah, though. That's like the socially acceptable way to smoke. I'm not sure. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Props to Shaden Sharp. That dunk was badass. I mean, I can't jump nor will I ever be able to jump, but I would imagine that it probably feels pretty good to be able to do this.
Now drives the baseline into traffic, throws it away, and it's picked up by Champagny. Then it's stolen by Sharp. He goes up and packs it down with authority, the right-hand smash.
What a dunk. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We got What Women Want with Celeste Trapp coming up at 4:20. We'll pay tribute to the legendary and great Donn Coss in the 5 o'clock hour. I'm Chad Doing. Hope you're enjoying this sunny and spectacular February afternoon here in the Northwest. All right, Rachel has chimed in, and she says, years ago, I remember reading about Gene Hackman in an article that said Hackman was always in a supporting role in movies and never the lead or star actor, but he did phenomenal jobs in those supporting roles. And that's true. A lot of the great movies that he was a part of, he wasn't necessarily the lead guy, but he was a supporting actor. And I think that's the mark of a great actor, that you can have a supporting role and yet still have a tremendous impact on the movie, meaning the movie wouldn't be the same without that character or the way it's portrayed by Hackman. And that's the case. And, of course, Hoosiers, it's one of the greatest sports movies of all time. That's a movie I can watch between now and the end of my time to the day I die and never get tired of it. It's terrific. Love him with Will Smith in Any of the Estate. He was terrific in that movie. Mississippi Burning is a classic. Sean had mentioned Unforgiven. Yeah, he was a heavy hitter. I thought his role in Superman's back in the late 70s, early 80s, working along with Christopher Reeve, his role as Lex Luthor was fabulous. That movie wouldn't have been the same without him. He brought a lot of depth to that character. He did a good job of shaping the way that we should view Lex Luthor as really smart, very wise, but psychotic at the same time, and willing to kill and be crazy for, his evil means. So, yeah, I was a huge fan. And he was a unique guy, very talented, and very sad to hear about his passing. 95. I don't think I'll be living to be 95. Pretty certain on that one. I'll be gone before that, but that's okay. But I think Gene lived a pretty productive life into his later years. And I know he enjoyed living down in New Mexico. I'd seen an interview with him recently. Yeah, there's one little breakfast spot or a place where he'd go and hang out. And, for a lot of these stars, when you make your home in a small town, they all know who you are, and they just let you be and let you live your life. And there's a lot of guys like that after they're kind of done and they move on to the next phase. They get away from Hollywood, and they choose different places to be. Out in the open, maybe some people get a ranch, some people go to Montana, and Hackman chose New Mexico. He was terrific. Now, my man Scotty Bethune, I know he's got my back because I was complaining about the number of guys I know who are either on the course playing golf right now or who have reached out to see if I could play tomorrow. And right now is not golf time for Chad. In fact, it's a very bad time for me because I'm so busy with work. So I have to wait until the Trailblazer season is over before the best phase of my life kicks in, where I spend the majority of time on the golf course. I got the 95 rounds last year. I'll be shooting for triple digits this year, and all I need is some cooperation from the weather. Last year was a great run. I mean, from April all the way through September, it was fabulous with great weather, great conditions. But Scott made a good point. He goes, dude, don't be jealous of the people out there playing golf today. Yes, the weather's nice. Yes, it's blue skies and it's sunny and it's fabulous, but it's mushy out there on the course. So I'm just going to focus on that. When you take a step and the ground sinks because it's been waterlogged and it's mushy, and when you go to strike the ball, the club doesn't react the same off the ground because you're hitting through mud. Mud. That's the deal. And no, I was not trying to rhyme with Luca's name. I was not trying to do that. But someone reached out and said, Luca likes hookah, drinking beers, and poking Puda. I don't even know if I could say that. I better dump that. There's certain words where I'm like, wait a second, can I say that? I have no idea. I know of the Nasty Nine or Dirty Dozen or whatever you're supposed to not say on the radio, but there are certain words where I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but it sounds bad. Did your mom ever tell you that? Where you would like say a word and she's like, don't say that. I'm like, why? It's not a bad word. And she's like, well, it doesn't sound good. Well, that word right there didn't sound good, so I'm just not going to go there. 503-248-0620. I've also got a bit of an issue. I'm trying to get my son, Isaac, to call in on his birthday. I don't think he's going to call in. It's really awesome when you reach out to one of your children and you're like, hey, do you want to call in and be a part of the show? I don't think so. I'm busy. I've got other things going on. It makes me happy that he says that because I'm like, that's good. Normally, you don't want to be turned down, but the fact that he's got busy things going on his birthday is a good thing. So we'll see. Maybe he'll call, maybe he won't. But right now, it's looking like no. But Isaac, here's a great part about Isaac with his condition and the way he communicates. It is unfiltered. You ever talk to someone like a family member, maybe it's a girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, and you ask them a question and they give you an answer, but you know that they're not really telling you exactly what they think or how they feel? We have a condition as humans where we try to sugarcoat everything, where we try to package the information we got to drop on you to make it sound better. Well, it's not really you. I just need to focus on my career. No, it's not you. You're wonderful, but I don't have time right now. Even when you're breaking up with someone or whatever the situation may be, you always try to package it in a way where you're trying to be nice. Isaac doesn't do that. That happens sometimes too when I'm like at a store checking something out and you got the salesperson on you. Why don't we just say what we're really thinking? Like, no, I have no desire to buy that whatsoever. But we don't do that. We're like, no, I'm just looking. I don't know if I'm interested right now. But Isaac doesn't do that. No, Dad, I'm busy. I've got stuff going on. Hey, son, do you want to go with me to this place on Saturday? No, I don't really want to go there. I don't like it. Okay, thanks. Appreciate that. At least I know where I stand with him at all times. All right, we're going to honor the great Donn Coss at 5. And then coming up at 4:20, Celeste Trapp in studio, What Women Want, as we dive into that world. You can reach out to me on social at Chad and Rip City. You can call 503-248-0620. Matthew Palumbo chimes in. Hey, Chad, don't forget him in Birdcage. Gene Hackman was a stud. Yeah, Birdcage is nice. And pretty much everything he did was great. You got the Rip City Drive. Mud. All right, 4 o'clock chat here. What's going on, my friends? The Trailblazers last night were in D.C. against the Wizards, and Shaden Sharp put on a show.
Now drives the baseline into traffic, throws it away, and it's picked up by Champagny. Then it's stolen by Sharp. He goes up and packs it down with authority. The right-hand smash.
Yeah, he scored a career-high 36, grabbed 8 boards, 5 assists. Blazers make it 3 in a row with the win over the Wizards. Denny Avdia had to leave the game in the first half with a quad injury, spoiling his return to D.C. Chris Murray stepped in and added 12 points and 6 boards. Portland has won 3 straight and the first 2 on their 7-game roadie. They're back in action tomorrow. They're in Brooklyn to take on the Nets. Tip-off at 4:30. Chris Burkhardt will have Blazers game day at 2:30 here on 620 Rip City Radio. Travis Kelce confirms he'll return in 2025, says you can't go out like that. The Chiefs are going to use the franchise tag on guard Trey Smith, and Myles Garrett is not open to an extension with the Browns. And I've always wondered how certain losses impact athletes. Like when you've played 10-plus years in the NBA or NFL and you've got a lot of money in the bank, are you really concerned about that last loss? And it was nice and refreshing to hear Travis Kelce say, hey, I'm going to come back in 2025. I don't want that game against Philadelphia in the Super Bowl to be my final memory. And from what I can recall, the guys that I've spoken with who have played professional sports or, college sports at a high level, they don't remember the wins. They remember the losses. You remember Alex Brink? The one thing that always comes to his mind during his WSU career, and he was a darn good quarterback for the Cougars, he brings up that story when he got his first chance to play. And I want to say they were up in Seattle. I can't remember the opponent, if it was the Huskies, who it was. I don't think it was the Huskies, but they're playing a game. He gets in the game, and he's having a pretty good effort. And he gets down there in the red zone, and there's a play that's called, and he's told exactly what to do on the sideline. They don't have any timeouts left, and he knows that he's got to get rid of the football. Well, he drops back, sees an opening, and is like, hey, I can get there, score a touchdown, win the game. We're good. He took off, did what he was not supposed to do. If it wasn't there, throw it away. But instead, he takes off. He gets tackled before the goal line, and time expires. Now, he played in a lot of games, a lot of plays, but that's the one he remembers, a loss. And it's like that for a lot of those guys. And I think what happens, and I would imagine that this is the case in a lot of different areas in life, but when you get to a certain level and you start to have success and you're winning all the time, all of a sudden when you're expected to win and then you do win, you don't necessarily feel the elation from the wins like you used to. It's more of a relief. And that's how it goes. So for Travis Kelce, he's going to come back. He'll be a part of the Chiefs. Apparently, they're going to franchise tag their guard, Trey Smith. But I think Travis Kelce can still play. Maybe not at the level or at the frequency he did in the past, but Andy Reid's good with his vets. They'll utilize him in spots. And, of course, on third down, when you need someone to pick up the yards, to move the chains, his connection with Patrick Mahomes is special, meaning he's going to be in the right place. He knows how to operate, and he'll get to where he needs to be. So props to Travis Kelce. He'll be back with the Chiefs next year. He has confirmed it. I did want to take a moment to talk about LeBron James. As you know, he's not my favorite basketball player in the world. I do respect his longevity, the peak physical condition he remains in at age 40 as he's continuing to play basketball. It's impressive. But I've got to give him props. He has, over the last week plus since Luka arrived, and we've seen it really in the last couple of games against Denver and the game a couple of nights ago against the Mavericks, where he's done something pretty remarkable. He has taken a back seat to Luka, allowing Luka to have the basketball in his hands because that is absolutely where he's going to be the best. If you're going to have Luka and he's going to be your primary guy, you've got to have the ball in his hands. you don't want Luka playing off ball. That's not a good way to go. So what they've done is they put the ball in Luka's hands, and I think J.J. Redick has probably been a big part of this as well. And LeBron James is finding ways to play off ball. He's finding ways to impact the game. He's finding ways to make a difference on the offensive glass. He's finding ways to manufacture points. It really is impressive to see LeBron out there at this stage in his career, well established as one of the greats of all time, but yet the willingness to adapt his game and embrace his new teammate, Luka Doncic. Now, I think that comes from a lot of different places. One, I think the arrival of Luka and seeing what he can do and how he can help him, LeBron out and everyone else on the team, I think Bron's smart enough to realize that, hey, I've got to adjust and see what I can do to make him comfortable, because with him, we got a chance to be special. We have a chance to make a move in the postseason. I think this move potentially could rejuvenate LeBron from the standpoint that he now realizes they've got a chance to go a little bit deeper in the playoffs. Now, I don't think the Lakers are going to win the championship, and I doubt that they're going to come out of the Western Conference, but I do believe this. With the arrival of Luka, they now have a chance to get through the Western Conference. They're a wild card team, meaning if everything breaks right and LeBron and Luka play at the highest of levels, they can beat anybody. They're going to be very difficult to deal with in a 7-game series because you have a top 3 player in the world in Luka, and you've got LeBron, who right now is playing top 10 basketball in the entire league. Regardless of their lack of rim protection or not, that's a lot to deal with because those guys are so good. And then you factor in the play of Austin Reeves as one of the best number 3s in the NBA. So I'm anxious to see how it plays out, but I want to make sure I give props. I'm going to be fair. I don't like LeBron, but I respect him. But you got to tip the cap to him because his adjustment and the way he's playing alongside Luka right now is very impressive to me. And it goes to show you that if you are a high-level player and you're willing to take a back seat or you're willing to adjust your game to set up a teammate because you understand how your teammate works in certain situations, that's high-level basketball. That's what it's all about. And that's what you want to see from your guys. So I just am like, wow. So keep an eye on that. We'll see how things go with the Lakers. All I know is that over the last 19 games that they've played, I think they're like 15-4. Highest net, they have the number 1 net rating in the NBA, and their defense has been really good. Now, it's a small stretch, but they've been very productive, more importantly on the defensive end. And we'll probably see more of Rui Hachimura in the lineup playing center when they go small ball. That might be the best option. He can stretch the floor. He's fairly mobile, so we'll see how things continue to play out. But I want to make sure I give props to LeBron. I'm impressed with his willingness to impact the game. And we saw that there where he kind of took over that fourth quarter against Dallas. His work on the offensive glass, how much energy he was able to have. And maybe that's going to be a factor down the stretch with Luka on the floor handling the majority of the rock and being exhausted and fatigued with the basketball. It's going to save LeBron a little more energy so he can make more of an impact late in the game. And then he can pick his spots defensively, and he can continue to attack the glass and outwork guys or outsmart guys. You know, just like we were talking about the other day with football players like Travis Kelce. As you get older, Ronnie Lott used to talk about this. You get older in the league and your body starts to get beat up and you don't have the same type of quicks. You know, your physical traits have diminished a bit. Your mind will take you where you need to be. Ronnie Lott believed that. Yeah, I'm not as fast as I used to be, but my mind is sharper because I understand the game. And I know what the offense is trying to do before they do it. And therefore, my mind can get me where I need to be. The same goes for Travis Kelce. He understands defenses better than a lot of guys playing defense for the opposing team that he's facing. His mind will get him where he needs to be to find that opening, to find the hole in the zone so Mahomes can get him the football. Well, I think LeBron James is the same way. You know, he's at the Masters level now where he's playing chess out there. So he'll see things that other guys don't see. He can position his body or make a move before someone else to put himself in a position for a key offensive rebound, a putback, or the connection between Luka and LeBron in those transition opportunities where Luka's going to look for him, LeBron can leak out and get down court to make something happen. So there you go. That is my LeBron compliment for the day. I'm impressed, and I like what I see. But most importantly, the player movement of Luka going to the Lakers, Jimmy Butler going to the Warriors, player movement's a good thing because all of a sudden I have a lot more interest in what's going on. I want to see how those two teams do come postseason time. Now, the ultimate dream, here's the ultimate dream. This is what we need, if we're being honest. We need the NBA to rig it so that Dallas and LA can face off in the first round. We need Lakers at number 2. We need Dallas at number 7. And if you give me the Lakers and Mavericks in a 2-7 matchup in the first round, oh, man, now we're cooking with gasoline right there. Can you imagine how awesome that would be with the Maverick fans and with Luka and with Nico Harrison? And by the way, what was Nico doing at the game? He actually went to the game there at Crypto.com Arena to watch the Lakers and Mavericks. And sure enough, the fans chime in with, "Thank you, Nico." I wouldn't have showed up to that game. No way, no how. He crazy. But that series would be awesome because the drama, the soap opera style storylines, everything you want is all jammed into one series. LeBron James, Luka, Dallas, their fans being bitter at the front office and the ownership group for trading Luka. And the other guy, the guy I was talking with today on that trade, I was like, he thinks that the main reason why you wouldn't open it up and let people know what you're doing, obviously the story would get out and become big news, but at least then you could put yourself in a position to get more picks, because he said that if you're the Mavs, they knew, and Nico, even though Nico butchered the presentation for Nike to Steph and traded Luka, he was smart enough to understand that if you're going to make this trade and you're going to trade Luka, you can't let anyone know about it, because once the fans find out that you're considering such an activity, they're going to riot and go crazy, literally go crazy, which they are right now. And it would probably get shut down because the owners, once they saw the reaction from the fans and the negativity and the threats of this and that and how we're not going to go to games anymore, it probably wouldn't have happened. And it probably wouldn't have. They would have been like, yeah, maybe this isn't such a good idea. Maybe our frustrations with the hookah and the beer, maybe we just need to set that aside and allow Luka to ball. Because Maverick fans would have rioted. And rightfully so. You're trading who? Luka? For what? AD and a first-round pick? Get the bleep out of here. You've got to be freaking kidding me. Also, I was informed and I was sent the definition. I said it on air and then I hit the dump button because I did not know what it was in reference to. Let's see here. Puta. In Spanish, a woman who has many casual sexual encounters or relationships. There you go. So this goes back to his Luka rhyme, because I was like, Luka likes hookah. And hookah is like that flavored tobacco or whatever it is you smoke at the hookah lounge. So he rhymed, Luka likes hookah, drinking beers, and poking puta. There you go. Thank you very much for that, 503. Thank you very much. All right, that's enough Luka. But yeah, LeBron, got to give him props, man, balling out. All right, coming up next, What Women Want. Celeste Trapp going to join me in studio, and then we'll honor Donn Coss coming up at 5. All right, Rip City Drive, and very happy to welcome in studio someone I've known for, I think, like 15 plus years. She is a Northwest native, an entrepreneur, and someone you've probably seen around town. Celeste Trapp is joining me. What's up, Celeste? Hey, Shacker, turn her mic on, buddy. Thought you were going to have the mic. Oh, there we go. You got it. What's up, Celeste?
Hey, Chad. Great to be here.
It's so great to have you and to have you in the studio. And you reached out to me. Well, first off, I've known you for a long time because, you know, back in the day when you started up Harem, you were looking to get the promotion out and stuff. So you've done work with a lot of different radio stations, but we met a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. I'm not sure exactly when you started, but we started in 2003.
Wow.
So I did back at Colin Coward. I was on his show. That's how long ago it was.
2003. I started at the other station back in 2005, and I remember doing stuff or being a part of some of the things you did there. And then when I went to the other station with, 95.5 and 750, I did stuff with you there, and I did a couple of shows from your different spots in town. It was fun.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time on the radio.
I know.
But not so much lately, so it's fun to be back.
Well, it's great to have you back. How many spots do you have now? What all have you got going on?
So we have 3 Harem locations and 2 Chrome locations.
Wow.
So
and
Chrome
what's the
was
difference
my
between
used to be
Chrome
white.
and Harem?
Chrome used to be white Chrome downtown off Broadway, and that was 2009 that we opened that. And the idea was that was just a mid-level price tier, so just cuts and shaves. And the idea was kind of have a training team for Harem, which was a higher level cut and experience. But then a lot of those people end up staying there the whole time, so it just kind of became its own brand. And then we opened on the east side as well. And now it's actually cut, color, and shave. So we're doing all-inclusive. So.
Harem is the first place where I've ever had a hot leather shave from somebody else other than myself. That was a good experience. A little nerve-wracking at first, but once I got used to someone having a blade on my neck,
Isn't it
and
a
realized
treat?
It's awesome. I'm like,
you get the hand massage, neck massage, scalp massage.
the whole deal. It was perfect. So I enjoy that. So what is the biggest thing you've learned from 2003 up until now running and operating your own business? Like,
Oh, boy.
Because you've been through so many different peaks and valleys through that process, including the pandemic.
The pandemic, that was fun.
Oh.
Yeah, we were in a fun industry for that. So 5 years, I guess, next month. Wow. So what have I learned in 22 years of running these businesses? I love offering a great service, and I love we have clients with us that have been from the beginning. We have our teams have been with us for a really long time. So we have just a family, and that's awesome. I like the freedom I have. I have a 12-year-old son, so I've been able to do a lot of school volunteering and do some travel. But,
How's he doing? I haven't seen your son in a long time.
he's all about his hair right now. So very fitting. Mom owns hair salons, but yeah, he's all about the girls. And
That's great.
Yeah.
Does he have a location he likes to hit for his cuts?
I just take him wherever I can get him in. Yeah.
That's good.
He's the cobbler's child a little bit. He often looks like he needs a haircut. So.
Yeah, and you had him at the Blazer game the other night, too. Did you have a good
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, that was fun. Good game.
Yeah,
it was
that's
fun.
awesome. All right, so here's the concept, and this is something you reached out to me on, and I'm excited about this, but it's going to be what women want, and you obviously have a lot of your lady friends, and you end up discussing and talking about relationships a lot. I have guy friends. I talk about relationships a lot. I think relationships are a number one topic amongst human beings for the most part, but you've spent a lot of time working on this, writing about this, and considering different aspects of relationship.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be a fun thing to do because, it sounds bad, but I have been in the dating market for a while. I'm, unlike many people, I haven't spent most of my adult life in a marriage, and I am a child of the 80s, so you can do the math there. And so I've had a lot of experiences dating, and I understand the pains men go through too, understanding women, just like women trying to understand men. And coming also from the background I have with the salons, our stylists are like therapists. I'm sure you know this. A lot of them having formed really strong friendships with their clients. They confide in them and their frustrations and their confusion around their dating life or their romantic life.
What is it about the hairstylist that makes us feel like we can share
Right?
anything with them?
That is a good question. I think just seeing them every 3 to 4 weeks, you start to develop that relationship.
Yeah, it's like a bartender or someone you see that you have that certain level of comfort
Right.
with, and they're inviting. Like you can speak with them, and they're
Right.
not there to judge you. They're just there to be an ear to listen, which is nice.
So I thought it'd be fun, getting some of their input from what they're hearing from the clients in their chair. Also inviting your listeners and my clients to participate in sharing some things that they're kind of curious about.
All
Maybe
right.
I can shed some light.
How long have you been in the dating market?
Oh, Chad, that's not a very nice question. Uh, longer than I'd like. Let's say
Yes.
that.
Or we're
Yeah.
talking like 5 years, 10 years? Like
Well,
how
I
often have
mean,
you been
on and off.
pursuing
Yeah.
on and off?
On
Okay.
and off. On and off
The
for
reason why
quite
I
a
ask,
while.
but what are some of your general observations? Just you don't have to go in depth, but what are some of the general observations on first dates you've been on, or maybe it's more than one date? Like, what are some of the things, the impressions you get from just that experience itself?
Well, of course, like everybody, I've done online dating. So I have impressions on that. And I think some people could really use some help. I think they could get more mileage of their time spent if they maybe had some coaching on how to present themselves. Um,
You're talking about the online presentation?
right. Like photos they use, just how they kind of pull themselves together for those photos, what they say about themselves. I think some people could use definitely some guidance on that. I think just in dating in general, and whether that's dating somebody new or in a relationship or even in a marriage, I think sometimes it's hard for either party to be honest about things they don't like, whether
Mhm.
it's how somebody looks, how somebody smells, how somebody does something, how they don't do something. Um, Having the ability to have kind of like some feedback, maybe that they might evaluate themselves in a different way rather than relying on a partner to be honest with them, to tell them what they're not doing right.
Well, I think that's interesting. How often do you think a partner is honest to a point?
It's hard.
It's hard to be honest.
You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You know, you might get shunned for, a couple weeks and nobody wants that.
I was just talking about that on the show where I think we, like my son, who he turns 22 today, it's his birthday. He's autistic. The one thing I appreciate most about him is that he has no filter. So whatever he thinks about you or anything else, you're getting the straight answer from him. And it's refreshing, shocking at times, but refreshing because I think a lot of us communicate with a certain sugarcoating, right?
Yeah, filter.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I think it's really important for that information be shared, but it's hard because those are hard conversations, and so people generally just kind of push them under the rug. But I'm here to maybe make some of your listeners, life a little easier. Maybe get a little farther in their relationships or make their partners a little happier, which is of course going to make them happier. And so yeah, I'm hoping I can just kind of share some of my experience and my concepts with all your listeners.
No, I can't wait to get into some of the details. One thing I did want to ask before we get to today's focus topic. What have you learned about how to present yourself online on a dating profile? You were mentioning how you present yourself. Like, how long did it take you to kind of figure out like what pictures are the best or what words to say?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
that's a
nobody.
process.
If I'm on a dating site, nobody sees me unless I see them first. So just the nature of my business, I don't like to be out there. But what have I learned about doing that? I think one is people have to be themselves. We've all heard the stories where people are putting out their best photo who does not look anything like themselves with all the filters, and then they show up and they think that somehow this other person's going to like.
Are you talking about like a glamour photo?
Well, yeah, people are just using filters and they're not, so there's that extreme. But then there's the other extreme where people are posting photos that are just terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible lighting. They haven't like put any effort into like just giving it the right energy.
Why do you think we're so afraid to be honest? Is it because we're afraid that we'll be rejected for our true state, or what? Because I think we all deal with this.
Well, you've been on online dating sites, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's like how quick do you spend on one? So people are not spending a whole lot of time. So if there's not somebody attractive, or at least in that realm for that person,
yeah,
they're swiping quickly. So yeah, you got to put your best foot forward, but not so much that you're misleading somebody because that's not going to go very far, likely.
Do women look at pictures the same that guys do, where it's like you recognize hot or not right away, or
hot or not? I can't speak for all women, but yeah, I mean, there's a wide variety of people. There's somebody out there for everybody. And that's the great thing, but it is a lot harder for men, I think, because I think there's a lot more of them. And from what I've heard, I have never heard actually the numbers of people online in these sites, but what I hear from men is they feel like they have to work harder to get any attention on there.
Yeah.
So you're definitely going to go farther if you have better looking pictures. And part of that is like, have you had a good haircut lately?
Yeah.
Are you, do you have some weight to lose? I mean, that's going to make you look better too. So, there's a lot of things people can do to get a little bit more attention.
That's very interesting. It's Celeste Trapt who's in studio. This is What Women Want. So today's topic I like. We're going to deal with grooming. And this is always a question I have. So I'll use myself as an example. Like, I'm not an overly hairy guy. I do have a little patch that grows in on the lower back that I don't like, and so I shave that off. Now that I'm getting older, I get sparse hairs on my ears that I've got to, continue to shave off and trim. I'm getting a lot of unwanted hair in different places as I get older, so I got to keep an eye on that, which I don't like. But the way I approach it is that I've got a sweet grooming razor, so I just keep my body clean.
Yeah.
And I like it that way
Good
for
for you.
myself. But I've always wondered, like, if a lady sees bare skin with a bare chest and everything's taken care of, like, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think everyone has their preference, first
Yeah.
of all. We were talking about, like, with spring break coming, people are going to be shedding off layers. Like
Yes.
a beautiful day like today, we're already, taking off layers. So especially after a long winter, we've all been hibernating. People maybe have gotten a little pudgier than they were last summer. Their hair's gotten a little, shaggier. But they're going to go spring break, and they're going to be bearing their bodies on the beach.
Yes.
And, I think the hairiness of a body is something that can be easily taken care of. It's a lot easier to do a waxing or a hair laser removal, or even just like you said, just like a buzz in the certain areas where you're growing unwanted hair. That's a lot easier than losing 20 pounds.
Yes.
Right. And
Yeah.
both are going to make you look better on the beach, but, take the easy route if you're going to just do one of the two.
But how much hair is too much?
Well, it depends on where you're talking.
Yeah.
So on the back, if you're having, we've all seen the 40-year-old virgin,
Yes.
hairy backs, and then there's just the slightly patchy hair, like sounds like you might have been taken care of. I think whenever there's hair in unintentional places,
Yeah.
like it can go, and it can go in a lot of different ways. So it doesn't have to be waxed, although waxing is nice, and it every 6 weeks, and it's not as painful as maybe you might imagine, and it gets easier. Laser hair removal is permanent after like 6 times. You go like once a month, and then it's pretty much gone. You might do touch-ups.
So if you got a problem area, laser hair removal after multiple treatments, it goes away forever.
Almost, like 90%.
Okay.
Yeah. I had my legs done in underarms and whatnot. I don't know, when I first opened the salons 20 years ago. And so I barely even have to shave, but just a little bit. But it does slowly come back. So I can't say it's completely gone. But, even like you said, just using a trimmer
Yeah.
to trim it down if you have longer hair. And I think people too, like in their arms and their chest, it's like a chia pet for some people.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much to trim. And I think just having a little intention around your grooming, I'm sure most of your listeners appreciate their partners taking effort and time and looking their best. And they would appreciate that in their partner as well. So, just taking that clipper and trimming things down,
Yes.
removing it permanently if you have the means.
So
to
where's
do
the
that.
biggest area of concern then? The back, the over hairy
Well,
back?
I mean, imagine like, do you like back rubs?
Yes.
Okay. Well, who doesn't for most part, right? But can you imagine rubbing a hairy back?
Yeah, I don't want that.
No. It's just still weird on your hands, right?
Yeah.
And then you got lotion in there, and yeah. So, like, if you want your partner to be touching you like that, shave your back.
Yeah.
Or do the other things, wax it or whatever. But so I would say back would be the number one thing, and that comes in. Some people just have it over on their shoulder. Some people have it on the lower back, but just like get rid of whatever hairs on your back and on your neck. And then neck is another thing. So we offer free neck trims at Hair M because so many guys, they for whatever reason can't really get back there that well without having the right mirror in their bathroom.
It's
to
very
see.
difficult to get back there to see
Yeah.
what's going on with
And if
the
they
neck.
don't have a partner to do it for them, they, because having that hairline over your collar does not look good.
No.
So making sure that's taken care of. And that actually can be waxed or lasered as well. Now, if you have gray hair coming in already, then it's too late. You can wax, but you can't laser gray hair, unfortunately. So anyone that's pre-graying that might be thinking about that now if they want to be doing that.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, the neck trim is important as well. Now, what about the chest? How much hair is too much on the chest?
So I was talking to my girlfriend and her husband about this. So he's a trimmer with a clipper, so he keeps it very short, like not even 1/8 of an inch.
Does she like that? Keeping it nice and tight?
Yeah, she likes that because he would probably be one that would grow, an inch or more.
Yeah.
Right? And so I agree. I think that's good look. Some people like to have it shave. I mean, if you shave, the thing is it grows out like your 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of maintenance, first of all, to have to keep that up. And I don't know if you've ever laid next to like a Brillo pad or something.
Yeah, it can be prickly.
It's not-
It can be
so if
prickly.
we're trying to encourage our partners to be touching us and cuddling with us and, having more intimate touch,
Yeah.
then make yourself feel like something somebody wants to touch.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're right, because when hair starts to grow out, it gets prickly, and it's
And-
not
and it, like in
comfortable
a
to
day,
the touch.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I have to shave, the full body shave. I do it once or twice a week. Now, again, I'm not in a position where someone's going to be touching me, so I'm not worried about the prickliness. But yeah, it requires regular maintenance. I've gotten it down now pretty pat where I can do it quickly. So when I shave and take care of it, it doesn't take too much time. But it's like anything else. Once you get in the habit of it, you're fine. But I'm also, I think what happened for me is I was scarred because I worked many years in a health club when I was younger, going through college. And so I saw all sorts of different guys in the locker room and all the different hair they had to offer. And I was like, I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to be like that. I saw all the things I don't want to be when I get older.
Well, I have a story. My brother went through puberty pretty early. And so when he was in 8th grade, he had a full beard. He had already dropped his Adam's apple, had a deep voice, and he had hairy legs in the 8th grade.
Wow.
So he got made fun of, and he shaved a strip of his calf. He was just feeling very self-conscious about his hairy legs. He shaved the strip, and then he thought, well, I shouldn't do that. And it never grew back.
It never grew back.
It never grew back.
So this
he
guy still
has
got that
this-
strip?
Yeah, and then from wearing like tube socks when he was like in, high school and stuff, it further kind of removed some of that hair. But yeah, it's just kind of a random thing.
All right. So if you don't groom, or let's say you have, hair or patchy hair or some on your back or whatever the case may be, like you were talking about, some people won't be honest or they have a hard time mentioning like, hey, why don't you do something about that? Like, what goes through a lady's mind when they see that kind of stuff? Like
Well, so I had a serious relationship, and I mean, he's a beautiful man, and he took care of himself. But for whatever reason, he didn't think twice about he had hair in the crack of his butt. I mean, like not like where you see it from behind, not like bending over. So, so all the cracks and crevices can be tended to. But it's just something I was not going to hurt his feelings and be like, hey, let's take care of that.
Yeah, you got a hairy butt crack. We need to solve that issue.
So I think I'm just here to like shed some light. Like maybe that would be a good thing to do for your partner
because
or
that's
future
something
partner.
your partner, your future partner. That's something they could notice that they don't like, but they're not going to mention something because it's a delicate subject, but it's something that's on their mind.
And it might be something too that might be, I'll throw it there on the table, is have a game with your partner and be like, hey, let's each throw out one thing. If there was one thing about the way we each look, what would be one thing that you would be happy if I changed, and reciprocate it with your partner also giving that information about you.
Where's the biggest concern for ladies as they continue to age? Like, where's the unwanted hair for ladies?
Oh, God. Well, everyone, men and women, should have a magnified light. And so probably a lot of your listeners' wives or partners do, because you will be shocked at what you see. Have you ever looked at one?
I think I have, yes. And I was shocked at what I saw.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And the reality is, if you're out in light, in certain light especially, and somebody's close to you, they're going to see some of what you would see in that light, but you don't normally see in your own reflection in a mirror. So it's a really good idea to like know what that looks like. So that could be, because men tend to get the nose hair and the ear hair, which sounds like in the top of the ear.
Yeah. Right up in
fuzz.
this area.
Yeah.
It's
So it's good that you're taking care of that. And the eyebrows maybe are growing too much. Women tend to get it, on their chin and their neck and random places. Men also, I think more so than women, get it on their hands and their knuckles.
Yeah, their hands or their
Random, isn't
toes,
it?
really hairy toes or whatever. But I could see why that'd be disturbing for a female too. If you get like, if you got hair like on your upper lip or
mustache.
Yeah, or you get like chin hairs or whatever, like that would freak me out. I wouldn't want that. But do you guys get patches on your back at all, or lower back or anything like that, or is that rare?
No, I don't think so.
What about ear?
I don't think so. Not like men.
You've got us beat in the unwanted hair department.
We do. We do.
But what can you do? So if you're a guy, is this something you can talk about with a stylist at Hair M, or like when it comes to if you have unwanted hair, but you're not really sure to go about how to start taking care of that? Like, what do you do?
Well, I think looking at what your options are. I mean, there's not a ton of options. So we went through what they were pretty much. I mean, there's not a whole lot more
You can
than
shave
that.
it yourself.
So, yeah.
You can use waxing, or you can go with the laser treatment. Now, waxing, because I know what a lot of guys think. They're like, I'm not going to get waxed. That sounds ridiculous. But the process, I've done it before. It's not, it doesn't hurt as bad as the movies make it look like it does. But the process I found to be quite simple.
Yeah, it's very quick. Like the if it is painful, it doesn't last long. And then the more you do it, the less painful it is because the hair's thinner at the follicle. So if you keep it up, basically. And most people are doing it more in the summer. And you have to do it like a week in advance. So I just want to throw that out. Somebody has a last minute idea before they're flying out for spring break.
Yeah.
Give it a week. And that goes for laser too before you get in front of the sun.
I was going to ask you about the eyebrows. Do you recommend guys as they get older wax their eyebrows or keep them trimmed?
Eyebrows
What's the best
are
process
interesting.
there?
So
because I think I'm losing I have less eyebrows today than I did when I was younger.
Oh, okay. So I'll tell you something about that. The thing with waxing eyebrows is women, if you look at women, and a lot of women are paying a lot of money for eyebrows nowadays,
Yes.
and then doing the microblading, and they do the dyeing, and of course the waxing and shaping. Men don't want to look like that, right? You don't want to look like you had work done.
Yes.
But if you have eyebrows that are, of course, a unibrow, as we all know, one brow across your forehead, you need to take care of that. And that's a super easy thing. You could even get your own wax, hard wax, and do it at home.
Yeah.
That's an easy thing to do on your own. There are some people, my brother would be one of those people who just has some crazy eyebrows. So having your barber trim them. But as far as waxing, like the arch and things like that, I would not encourage men to do that unless they're wanting to have a more feminine look.
All right. Do you have a couple more minutes? Because I need to take a commercial break, and I want to keep you on to the end of the hour. All right, Celeste Trapp is in studio. What Women Want, as we continue to discuss about the unwanted hair. We're going to honor Donn Coss coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Trailblazers tomorrow, tip-off in Brooklyn at 4:30. Blazers Game Day with Chris Burkhardt at 2:30 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. And don't forget, all Trailblazer games are streaming live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, Rip City Drive. Celeste Trapp is in studio, and we're talking about grooming techniques for guys. It's a lot of these questions. I know a lot of guys who probably think about this stuff. They just don't want to ask anyone about it because some things they just don't like to talk about. But I think it's important to know, especially as you get older, like grooming techniques with the shaving and stuff like that. And my guess would be that maybe some wives or girlfriends are honest about, no, don't do that, or you should try this or whatever. But my guess would be maybe there's, some things that bother them, but they just don't say anything. I think that a lot of stuff goes unsaid sometimes. That'd be my guess.
No, I agree. And I think it goes both ways, right? We just don't want to hurt each other's feelings.
Yeah.
So we just kind of deal with it.
All right. So tell me about the book that you're working on right now.
Oh,
Not finished, but you're working on it.
Putting the pressure on me to finish it. So it's called Relationship Inc.
Yes.
And, being a business owner for now 22 years, I've learned a lot about business.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes the business successful and sustainable is a lot of systems and a lot of communication. And then when you think about how businesses communicate with their employees and with their clients, a lot of it's setting expectations, whether that's in a job description, it's doing 360 reviews, setting systems where you're having communication at certain times, whether it's huddles, weekly, monthly meetings, retreats, setting a vision, core beliefs of a company, mission statements. All these things are all based around creating systems around communication. But in relationships, people don't tend to have that same ability to create systems in the relationships to share that information. So a lot of people, starting from the beginning, get together, they start dating, and they haven't really had an application filled out. They haven't even created a job description for what they're looking for, to put it into terms like what we use in business. And so when you think about people they put their best foot forward, right? So all these things we're talking about grooming and how do we look our best and present ourselves the way we know a partner would want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what we know because we know what we need to do. We know how to court. Guys know how they're going to do and say the right things to get the next date and the next date. And women know how they should show up and everyone should look their best and be in the best shape and show up with, groomed properly. And that's kind of just a given. People kind of have that kind of common sense of what the other partner is going to be looking for. But then life happens. They get together, they get married, they have kids, they start working on their careers. And all of a sudden, the intention they were putting on their relationship and themselves starts getting focused on other ways, and things start falling through the cracks, and they don't have the success of their relationship that they once had or desire because they haven't been putting that focus on there. So, people, this is just a common practice. Do you agree?
Yeah.
You see this happen and kind of become complacent a little bit. But if there were systems in place that would help guide couples so that that they first have on the table, like what the expectations are. Can we have an honest conversation? What does it look like? What am I looking like in a partner?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what the book, that's a very quick overview of it, but it's kind of looking at these things we do in business and comparing it to how you would apply those to relationships.
How have you enjoyed the process of putting those concepts on paper?
Yeah, well, I started it, I've been talking about it actually, kind of concepts of it over 20 years ago, before I even started the salon. But it was around, it wasn't as a business or a book or anything. It was just a 5-year marriage. And the reason wasn't to be married for 5 years. The reason was to have the framework of a marriage to be renewed. I liked the idea of not being, I didn't ever want to be stuck in a marriage.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to fall into a complacency on either side. And I thought, why are we doing it this way? Like, marriages have not been successful. 50% end up divorced, and the other half that stay together are miserable. So it's like, okay, that's not very attractive. So how do we change that? And so I thought, well, 5 years, you renew it 5 years, then you do everything you know to get renewed. Just like when you're in a job, you do what you do to get advanced, right?
Yes.
If you want to get advanced. And maybe some relationships aren't meant to be forever. So that's a time, let's hold our commitment till the end. And it's short enough distance of time. You're not making bad choices along the way that are hurtful to the other person.
Well, I
and
think
then you get renewed.
relationships that didn't last forever, but you can look back and be like, that was a very productive relationship in my life at the time.
Yeah, and if you look in kind of like having, a prenup in a way, but you kind of decide, okay, like if we decide not to renew, we've already decided while we love each other and adore each other how we're going to deal with finances and the kids and all the things, and having some framework around that. So that was kind of more of not anything I was going to do anything with. It was just kind of a concept I'd shared with friends, and they'd always joke with me when I date people like, oh, did you tell them about your 5-year marriage contract? Yeah. And I never actually did it, but that was kind of the start of where I am now. And so the process has been fun because I've been talking about these ideas, and I'm a problem solver, and just being able to apply what I've learned in business and seeing how none of these things are done in relationships, and how impactful they could be has been a fun process. So I voice dictated the chapters when I first started it about 4 years ago. And that was a nightmare trying to edit. I don't know if you've ever tried to edit voice transcribed work, and I realized I really like writing, but not necessarily editing. So I hired a ghostwriter, and then I realized it's even more work editing somebody else's work. So it's kind of just, it's about 80% done. So.
All right. Celeste Trapp, owner and operator of Chrome and Harem, here in studio since 2003, you said?
Yes, right.
That's pretty awesome. All right. Real quick recap before you go. Give me like the 30-second recap for the guys out there for body grooming, the things to remember.
All right, body grooming. If you have unwanted hair, unintentional hair, take care of it. It is beach season coming here for spring break, and look your best, whether it's just taking your clipper and trimming it down so it's like under 1/8 of an inch, quarter max, or, taking it off altogether, whether you're shaving it, you're waxing it, or you're getting a laser hair treatment removal. And just kind of looking at all your cracks and crevices, like what shouldn't be there, and let's take care of it, because it really doesn't take that much time or money, and it's a lot quicker and cheaper than losing 20 pounds, and it will help you feel more confident and be looking your best.
And your mate or potential mate will appreciate that.
Yeah, and they want to have their hands on you more, right? If you're like soft skin versus hairy.
I like it. All right, website. How can they find Harem and Chrome?
So Harem is at Harem, as in man.com, and Chrome is chromepdx.com.
All right, harem.com, chromepdx.com. Celeste Trapp in studio, What Women Want. Thank you for your time today. I look forward to having you in studio more often.
All right, thanks, Chad. That was fun.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive when we come back. You know him as longtime legendary Portland wrestling announcer Donn Coss, but to me, he was much more. We're going to honor him next. He passed away at the age of 85, and we'll pay tribute to Donn here in the Rip City Drive. All right, we're going to do something that I think you will enjoy this hour. But first, I want to remind everyone tomorrow the Trailblazers continue their 7-game road trip. They're in Brooklyn to take on the Nets. Tip-off will be at 4:30. Our coverage will start at 2:30 with Blazers Game Day hosted by Chris Burkhardt right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Now, don't forget, all Trailblazer games stream live on the iHeartRadio app. So it's a great place to go on your phone, through Alexa, wherever you may be to listen to the Trailblazers on the go so you don't miss what we heard last night with Shaedon Sharpe and that incredible dunk on his way to a career-high 36 points. All right, this came as a stunner to me a couple of days ago. I had no idea. And then I got the word, and then I looked and tried to find evidence that it was the case, and I couldn't find anything until today. And so now that I know it's confirmed, I want to go ahead and share it with you. Here is the report. This past weekend on Saturday, February 22nd, there was a Portland Wrestling Expo. It featured some of the top names of the past, including the Grappler, Nord the Barbarian, Moondog Moretti, Bushwhacker Luke, C.W. Bergstrom, Ricky Sonata, David Sierra, Mike Miller, and Ricky Vaughn. So a lot of the all-time greats from Portland Wrestling. And there were a lot of people talking, and there were conversations going on. But there was one surprise, that one of the longtime announcers with Portland Wrestling, Donn Coss, was not in attendance. And there were people talking about it. And then all of a sudden there was a rumor that Donn Coss had passed away. Well, after digging into the story or the news, it was confirmed that Portland Wrestling TV announcer from 1982 to 1992, Donn Coss had passed away. It was confirmed by his daughter. And I believe the day that he passed away was January 15th of this year. He was 85 years old. Now, most of you know him as connected with Portland Wrestling, and I understand that. But for me, I've got a different connection. I know him from Portland Wrestling, but I had the honor to have a chance to meet him and then work for him for 7 years. When I first got started in the radio business, as I've shared with many of you, John Phillips, who was part of PDX Sportsline, he worked at many different stations. He was close in the early days with Nike. I got connected with him at KVAN Radio in Vancouver back in the late 90s when I was searching and trying to find a way to get into the business. John Phillips was the guy who opened up the door. That's where I met Gavin Dawson. That's where I got my first experience, and everything took off from there. Well, one day Phillips had come up to me and he said, "Hey, I've got a guy who's based out of the Woodburn area who needs someone to come down and call high school games for him. Basketball, football, baseball." And, of course, I'm like young. I'm early 20s trying to find a way to broadcast. I'm in. 100%, John. Give me the name. Tell me where to go. Whatever the number is, I don't care. So he gave me a number of a guy named Donn Coss. Now, I wasn't too familiar with Coss. I had heard the name, but I'd never met him or crossed paths with him. Again, this is back before I had even built a name for myself in radio. I'd only done work at KVAN. And so I gave Donn a call, and he told me what the deal was. He said, "Hey," and he had a great, beautiful voice. He said, "I'm not going to be able to pay you that much, Chad, but it would be great if you could come down and call games. I have a station that's based out of Staten, and we cover two high schools, Regis and Staten High School, and we need someone to call their football games and their basketball games and probably some baseball too." And I said, no problem. Now, his stations, he owned two of them, 1460 KCKX, which I called the games on, and he also had a Spanish station, which was wildly popular and very successful, 940 La Pantera. So I went down to Woodburn, and I had a chance to meet him, and I'll never forget it. He gave me a little briefcase with a bunch of radio equipment in it, and then he gave me the address, and this is back before we had the smartphones, so he had a MapQuest printed out for me, and before you know it, I was driving down to Salem to find some high school I'd never heard of before. And over the years, with the work I did for Donn, I had a chance to travel across the valley and go to a lot of 2A and 3A schools. And then with that, because Regis was so successful, I had a chance to be a part of multiple playoff games and state championships, which was a great experience. And that's how I crossed paths with Travis Lulay, who was a quarterback at Regis that went on to become a Grey Cup champion. So I had some great experiences, and the opportunity to work and have to do it alone and go to these schools, figure out how to set up, get everything ready to go and do a broadcast was amazing. I remember one time I did a call for Donn in Sisters, Oregon. First time I had gone to Sisters, and I'm calling a game with the Outlaws, and the radio equipment did not work because they did not have a place for me to connect the way we thought they would. And before you know it, I'm sitting there with the cell phone provided by Donn in the stands calling the game via cell phone. And that was cutting my teeth and learning how to find a way to get the job done when it looks impossible. And over the years, I had a chance to travel. He would give me a hotel script when I was staying overnight. So it turned out to be a terrific experience. And for Donn, for him to step into my life and be a mentor, a guy who had owned radio stations, been a radio announcer for years, done all that work with Portland Wrestling. He was always encouraging, gave me plenty of opportunity, and I never forgot it. Well, one time I had a chance to pay it back to him. This is back when I was on a different station with the old Flight 750 days, and I invited him in studio, one, to talk with him and have him share stories, because I know people love Portland Wrestling, but mostly it was just to kind of tip the cap and say, thank you, Donn, I appreciate you. He was a wonderful man, very warm and engaging, very smart in the radio business, always encouraging to me. And when I needed some instruction or something needed to be pointed out, he would do that as well. He was a great radio boss and someone that was paramount in me being where I'm at today. And so I never want to forget those people or forget the people that came before me or the people that opened up the door and gave me an opportunity when I didn't deserve it. And Donn Coss is great. So I thought what would be nice to honor Donn Coss and the legacy he leaves behind here in the local area was to revisit that conversation. We'll talk about radio, his experience, and he's got a lot of Portland wrestling stories to share, which are great. And you'll even hear from a few phone callers who were asking Donn questions and talking about the old Portland wrestling days. But Donn, I love you, my friend, and thank you for everything you did for me. You were awesome, and he leaves quite the legacy behind in the broadcast business, and, of course, someone that was very close to a lot of people here in the area. Donn Coss was awesome, so enjoy it. You probably know him from his Portland wrestling days, and now he's back with Portland Wrestling and a radio legend here in the local area. It's Donn Coss. Donn, welcome in. It is great to have you on the program, and what a pleasure it is to see your face.
Oh, man, let me tell you, it's so wonderful to be invited on board Flight 750. Hang on a second, I get the seatbelt going here. Okay. Got to buckle up. This is great, Chad. I'm glad to see you, too. It's been a long time.
Long time. You know, it's we were just talking about this, but radio is, and you know this because how long have you been in radio, Donn?
1,000 years. Yeah, give or take, couple.
But there's nothing like it. I mean, television can't capture it. A radio, there's a certain magic about it in the way that you have to use your imagination as you listen. And I just love it. And what I really hate about you is the fact that you've got this natural radio voice. It's like, it's Donn Coss. You've got the great voice.
Well, my creditors recognize it. Thank you.
But it's great to have you in studio. So why don't you give people a little background now? You've got 3 stations. Mm-hmm. So why don't you tell people those 3 stations? I'm sure they're familiar with them.
Okay. One's a radio station, and I got a gas station. No, just kidding. So, the first station I got was KWBY 940 AM.
La Pantera, right?
Which is La Pantera. That's all Spanish. And we have KSND 95.1 FM. It's also all Spanish. And then we have KCKX 1460 AM, which is ESPN Deportes. So they're all Spanish, and that they all have different formats. La Pantera is, La Pantera is the current hits of the of Latin music, and KSND is the hot hits from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then, of course, KCKX is ESPN Deportes.
That's fantastic. Now, you were talking also, you carry Portland Timbers like we do, but yes, you carry them in Spanish.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have the Timbers on La Pantera and La Clásica, which is the FM. And so we're right in there with everybody. And then we also carry the OSU Beavers in football, and we've got a team out of Mexico called Los Chivas, and it's out of Guadalajara, and it's part of the Mexican Soccer League. So, yeah, we get into the sports thing, that's for sure. That's good stuff. Donn Coss is in studio with us. Now, you and I were talking about this earlier, but here with our station, we're live and local, and we really want to focus on the local community and reaching out, and I enjoy the interaction I get with the local people. It's so much about community, and you're the same way, and you've always had this philosophy that when you got into the business and you purchased your stations, you wanted to make sure that you gave back to the local community. And you were talking about something earlier when I was on the phone with you, that with the Spanish stations, you've been able to open up an avenue to the very large and growing Hispanic community, to where now they have access and know things because of what you've communicated to them through radio that they wouldn't have had access to before. So talk about that a little bit, because I think it's fascinating. Well, it's it started back in 1992. In fact, KWBY as a radio station is now celebrating its 50th year. Went on the air in 1963.
Congratulations. That's fabulous.
Oh, that's kind of neat. But in 1992, when I bought the radio station, it was 75% old country western English programming, of course, and it was about 25% Spanish. It was the first station in Oregon to program any Spanish on its air, and that was back in 1963.
So back then, that's pretty groundbreaking then.
Yeah, oh yeah. There wasn't really a reason to, because I think there were about 3 Hispanic families in the Woodburn area, and one of them came to the owner at that time and said, "Hey, can we do a little picking and grinning on Sunday afternoons?" And he said, "Sure." And that's where it all started. But just from looking at it from a business standpoint in 1992, it was pretty apparent that the future here was not in Johnny Cash, Loretta Lynn, and Ernest Tubb. It was south of the border with Vicente Fernandez and Julio Iglesias and Gloria Estefan. And so on September 12th, 1994, we flipped the switch and went 24 hours Spanish. Boy.
What was the reaction at that time?
My reaction was, why did I do this? Because I actually got death threats. Oh, yeah, physically.
Are you
over
kidding
the phone,
me?
in mail. Oh, yeah. Well, remember, we'd gone from old redneck country to all Spanish.
Oh, so the good old boys weren't exactly happy with your decision.
That's oil and water. Yeah, that's not good. But it took about 6 months, and I realized, I really did do the right thing. And it's been wonderful since then. And then, of course, the Hispanic population was growing like crazy, and we just grew with them, and that was it was magical, because we I mean, community radio is community, and it's the most fantastic medium on our planet. And when I was at KRDR in Gresham, we were community. We were in the air on the air and on site all over the place. And I took that same thing over to KWBY. I loved to crash Anglo parties. So we got heavily into the American Diabetes Association Expo. We got into the American Cancer Society. We got into the Rose Festival, the Oregon State Fair, everything and anything we could, Oaks Park. And I'm so proud of what this radio station and now all 3 stations have done for the past 8 and going on 9 years at Oaks Park. 9 years ago, the Hispanic community didn't even know
they had no
where
idea
Oaks Park was. And now it's a point of destination for the families.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
that's all community right there. You're talking about that.
Oh yeah, you bet. And I've learned to appreciate and love the culture. And do you know? Here's a little tidbit here.
I like that. Give it to me, Donn.
All right, internet, social media, Facebook, texting. Hispanic culture does more texting than any other culture on the planet.
And why is that?
Because of the size of their families and friends. I mean, for crying out loud, they got larger families than I have friends.
And you got the text. And you know what the texting does for us nowadays, too, is that, it allows us to communicate. And that's why my dad has learned to enjoy it, because you can communicate with family members without getting tied up on the phone for, extended minutes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, I haven't really, I haven't been dragged into that yet, or I haven't accepted it yet.
I'm still waiting for a response to a text I sent you yesterday.
And you'll be waiting a long time, because when it comes to texting, I'm just all thumbs. And wait a minute. You're supposed to be, though, aren't you? Oh, that's not good. It's not good for me. I tried it a couple of times, Chad, with horrible results. And I remember I was texting a very lovely young lady that, to me, she was a sweet, overwhelming beauty. She really was.
Just a gorgeous, drop-dead, gorgeous lady, a princess.
Yes. And she would text me, so I figured I'm going to learn how to do this. So I texted her back using the letters URSOB, sweet, Well, it didn't work, and then it was gone. So I lost that one, and I haven't.
That was
tried,
lost in translation.
Yeah, I haven't tried texting after that.
Well, just make sure that when you send a text, certain texts should not go to certain people. You got to watch that.
Now you tell me.
It's great stuff. Donn Coss is in studio. Now, I don't think I've ever asked you this, but how did you start in the business? Like, take me back 1,000 years ago when you got into the business. How did it begin for you? And did you know, for me, the only thing I ever wanted to do is radio, but when did you start to get your first love or that hunger for it?
Well, I will never forget because I was working, I'd gotten out of college in the military, and I was working for Nabisco, National Biscuit Company. And I would listen to the radio as I'm making I was in training, and I was driving all over the place, listening to the radio, and I kept thinking, I can do that. I can talk that stuff. I mean, I had no clue as to what I was doing or anything, but I was dreaming. And so I went down, and in those days, you had to have a third-class FCC license to get behind a microphone. So I went down, and I studied, and I got my license. I had that license for 2 years, Chad, before somebody called me and said, "Hey, I got a radio station out here in Forest Grove. We're working out of a trailer, but I need somebody to do weekends. You want to come out and learn?" And yeah. So it was just, I loved it, and whatever it was just kind of came naturally to me. And so I left Nabisco, jumped into that, and that was in late September. At the end of October, the FCC shut that station down.
Wow.
For something that, I don't know, the owner had done. So then I moved on into KUIK in Hillsborough and did a little stuff at the old original Kissin', and then went into KGAR downtown Portland on 10th and Burnside, right across from Kissin'. But along the way, I was selling, advertising, and being on the air. And my air shift was usually in the morning, and after that, I'd go out and sell.
Wow.
And that's really
hardcore.
Yeah. But it's kind of funny because at the time I got into radio full time, I also auditioned for Channel 12 when they were looking for an announcer to do sign-off news, and I got that.
Now, what is sign-off news exactly? I know what it is, but they don't do it anymore. Some of the younger listeners may not know, but explain that, because that's interesting, too.
In those days, Channel 12 had programming up until midnight. And at midnight, they signed off. They went into a test pattern, and they did their engineering, and they signed back on in the morning. Well, they needed somebody to do the final late news from 11:30 to midnight. And so I auditioned, and oh man, there are a lot of people out there auditioning for that. And I got a call at home that during the audition thing from Jimmy Jones, who at that time was taking care of programming, and he said, "Hey, come on down. We want to interview you one more time." And I got it. So, wow. So I got that at about the same time.
So at the time, you were probably pretty excited, right? That was a big opportunity.
Oh my gosh, yes. And then it was always part-time. I was on weekends and doing the station breaks and commercials. And then in the early 70s, I got the same call from Jimmy Jones. He said, "Donn, you know anything about pro wrestling?" And I said, "Oh, they used to call me Mr. Pro Wrestling." I knew nothing. No, I didn't watch it. I mean, I grew up in Seattle watching Texas wrestling and some Seattle wrestling, but I really didn't know anything about it. I said, "Yeah, I'm your man." He said, "Well, good, because Frank Bonema is ill, and we need to fill in this Saturday." Oh, sure, yeah, I'll be right there. So. But thank goodness that was on a Monday, so I had time to get with people like Tony Bourne, and I visited Frank in the hospital, and they gave me a crash course.
Nice.
Yeah. But my first venture into Portland wrestling was pretty scary.
All right, you're going to hear more from the great Donn Coss, who passed away at the age of 85 from Portland wrestling and broadcast great in the local area. More from my conversation with Donn back in 2013 coming up next on the Rip City Drive. All right, here's more of my conversation with Donn Coss. This is back from June of 2013 on the old Flight 750 days. Donn Coss, who passed away at the age of 85, a longtime Portland wrestling announcer and a great mentor to me. He was a great broadcaster and a radio station owner, and we're paying tribute to the great Donn Coss. Here's more of the conversation. And very happy to have in studio right now Mr. Donn Coss. Now, we were talking some Portland wrestling during the break, Donn, but take us back. So your first opportunity to call, the interesting part is that you jumped all over it and you were excited, but you had no idea what it was about. You weren't a wrestling fan at the time. In fact, you weren't even a part of it. Talk about that process and how you became a big part of Portland wrestling, but also you learned to love and appreciate the athletes. You enjoyed it.
Oh, I really did, yes. And at first I did not know what to expect. Remember, this is 1973, and we had Jesse Ventura coming through town. We had, we had Andre the Giant. I mean, obviously I knew Andre the Giant.
Yes, everyone did.
Oh, my word. The first time I'd ever seen a wrestler step into the ring stepping over the rope. I mean, over the rope, onto the ring. Oh, man. But
he really was a giant.
Oh, he truly was. And he was a gentle, wonderful giant. But on that first Saturday night, oh, my goodness, I did not really know what to do.
Now, where were the events at back in the day?
They're at the old Portland Sports Arena, in Chautauqua and St. John's area. And which was really used to be an old bowling alley that they turned into the sports arena. And,
so it probably smelled really good in there.
Oh, it was well, no. And of course we had the crow's nest, and but it had ambiance. I mean, it was perfect for pro wrestling. Perfect.
Like you walk in and you can
oh yeah.
The smells and the sounds and the ambiance, you just knew what you were getting into.
It grabbed you. I mean, you were in a full Nelson right away. And I got there and I'd had my notes and everything, and I was being introduced to Dutch Savage and Stan Stasiak and all these guys and Frank. I think Frank was ill for about 2 or 3 weeks because I know I had 2 shots at this. Yeah, 2 shots. So in the first couple of weeks, I was trying to be funny, and because I didn't know the holds. So I'd say things like, "Oh, he's rolling him over, going for the pin. Oh, it's the old rolling pin. Yeah, I know that hold." And so I'm enjoying it. The guys in the back, they're not digging that at all.
They're thinking you're a clown.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then I think on the second week I was
like, Donn?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a full Nelson, a half Nelson, or a Willie Nelson, but it's one of those. And so I was making up holes that obviously I didn't know them. Well, on the third Saturday, I'm getting ready for an interview, and it's with Dutch Savage. And Dutch comes out, and I've got the microphone there, and I said, "Oh, man, I'm probably in Dutch now." And he grabs that microphone, and he grabs my arm. And he said...
And it wasn't like a gentle squeeze.
No. He said, "Let me tell you something, Mr. Coss." He said, I've been in the back there now listening to you for this the 3rd week. And you just called, you referred to Haru Sasaki as a motorcycle. We don't appreciate that. This is our livelihood. This is a sport. It's not a comedy routine.
And he's not messing with you.
Oh, no. He's looking me in the eyes at about 6'4", so...
You're getting a little bit nervous here.
Oh, my goodness. I know I'm going to have to go to the cleaners after this one's over. And he said, "If we hear one more thing out of your mouth that isn't pro wrestling and isn't respectful, I will personally take your head and put it out in the ring, the middle of the ring, and your body's not going to be attached to it. Do I make myself clear?" And I said, "Yes, sir. You certainly do." And from that moment on, if I didn't know the hold, I didn't say anything. I just said he's got him. And I that was a wake-up call for me. And for that moment, I mean, I was truly shaken. I mean, I was afraid to say anything then. And then, thank goodness, that was my last Saturday for filling in for Frank at that particular time. And then they brought me back a few more times in the during the 70s when Frank would go on vacation or become ill. But it was only like 1 week at a time, so I never really had a chance to really learn it, get into it, and become part of it. And then in September of 1981, I got the call, and they said, Frank is back in the hospital, and it's kind of serious, Donn. You might have to fill in for about a month. And I said, okay, yeah, that's okay. And so that time I was doing more studying. I was learning, and I was learning to love the sport. And I was learning to love the promotional side of it, the athletic side of it, and the guys. I'd become friends with some of the guys, and
that's when it started to click, isn't it?
Yeah, that's when it began to click. And so I came out that first Saturday that I was going to fill in for a while, and they said, well, we're going to have some help for you this time, Donn. I said, oh, great, that'll really be very, very helpful. He said, yeah, you'll be doing the first couple of weeks with Dutch Savage. And I said, oh, Dutch Savage? And they said, yeah, I guess he's going to be there to help you.
Oh, boy,
said,
thanks for the help.
Yeah, right. Well, okay. So before I got to the arena, and the crowd was filing in, and I went into Don Owen's office, and Dutch was there. And he was standing there, and I came up beside him, and he looked down at me. He said, so you're going to be doing the play-by-play, huh? And I said, yeah, I am. And he took my arm, and he looked me right in the face, and he said, you're okay, son. You're okay. And he gave me a big hug. We got a high five.
Wow.
And oh my gosh, it was just, and he was absolutely incredible. Now the sad part about this is that as we got into the first week, Frank passed away during the second week. And boy, you talk about a legend, Chad. There was your legend, Frank Bonema. Great guy, and he really, truly did live that sport. He traveled with the guys whenever they went on their circuit. He was there, and so then it was Dutch and me from that point forward for quite a while, and Dutch used to obviously knows all the holes, so he taught me. And not only did he teach me,
he used them on you
word wise, but if somebody was doing the old finger roll back and crunch, he would show me. Let me show you, Don. Let me show you how that. And he'd roll my. Oh, never mind. Okay, I got it. Why don't it just
sounds like my brother. Here, let me show you how that works.
Let's just tell, not show. And they'd grab my knee and my. Now this is where they're really squeezing. They're squeezing on this nerve right here. Yeah. Oh, there were times, quite frankly, when we would finish the show.
You were sore.
I could hardly walk.
Let's go to the phones, Don. We got people who want to talk to you. Let's go to Gary in Vancouver. Gary, thanks for calling in. You're on with Don Coss. Fire away.
Yeah, it's been great memories there. I was down at the sports arena. I saw, the snooker, Ric Flair.
Oh, yeah.
And up in Vernonia, they actually came up to Vernonia one year, and that's when Jesse Ventura did nothing but growl. You never heard a word from Jesse till a couple of years later, but
yeah,
it was all great there and a lot of fun there. And just watching those guys merge into, the national wrestling there was kind of fun there. Playboy Buddy Rose, he lasted for a little while there, but didn't make it there. But I saw Jesse and Ric Flair both there up in Vernonia and the Portland Sports Arena both there, and it was a great time.
Oh yeah, great memories. Well, a lot of those guys too like Playboy Buddy Rose. He could have done anything he wanted. He could have made it. He chose to be in Portland, and I think he had such a fan base. He was one of those guys you loved to hate, but you loved him, and he could. I know he could have gone anywhere. Well, and when I came in on that in 1981 on that Saturday, Billy Jack came in the same week. We both started full time together.
Wow!
And of course he had a chance to really move on, but he didn't quite make that. But yeah, you're right. The guys really they give you a lot of memories, a lot of fond memories.
Let's take one more call here before the break. Out in Milwaukee, it's Paul. Paul, thanks for calling in. You're on with Donn Coss. Fire away.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I really do appreciate it. My brothers and I grew up with Portland Wrestling, Frank Bama, but Donn, I remember that week that you filled in the first one. It was hilarious. Chad, I wish he could take you back. It was so good. He was so nervous with these wrestlers up there. At the time, as a kid, we thought it was real, so I thought they're going to rip this guy's head off. But, Donn, you had a line that I remember to this day, and I'm 50 years old now. I don't know if it was Sam Oliver Bass or somebody just ripped you apart, and you had nothing to say. You were so nervous. He walked off the stage, and the only thing that you said was, well, I don't think I'm going to send him a Christmas card.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There were a few of those.
See, that's what he was talking about. Paul just brought up a good point. Those are the memories. People, they're good because people remember them so many years after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff. Donn Coss in studio.
Boy, I tell you, that was what you saw was what you got, and what I did. There were moments. Well, I had a thanks to Nord the Barbarian, I have a broken rib, and thanks to Mean Mike Miller, I got a shin bone.
Gosh.
from that plank he used to carry around with a chain around it called Lucille. Oh yeah, he was swirling that thing around, and part of it caught my. And of course, when you're on television, you can't really go jumping around and hopping and do a pain dance. So it was fun.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. I love this Saturday. I love my snooker. Super fly. I love Jimmy Snuka. That's Donn Coss. I'm Chad Doing. All right, paying tribute to Donn Coss. More stories from the Portland wrestling days from Donn and my conversation with him back in June of 2013 coming up next here on the Rip City Drive. from Justin. Check this out, Don. He says, "Hey, Chad, I just had to share this. Dutch Savage and his wife used to babysit me when I was around 1 year old. Now that is a cool babysitter."
Oh, if I'd been that kid's parents, I wouldn't worry about anything. Oh, wow.
Now, wait a second. Before we go back to the phones,
Yeah.
you just told me something that's remarkable between reading something, seeing something with your eyes, or hearing it on the radio. Tell me about that.
Yes. It is a medical, psychological fact that when you hear something spoken to you, it has 3 times the instant and long-lasting impact than something that you read or something that you see.
And that's why talk radio is never going to go anywhere.
That's right. Radio in general, it's not going anywhere. It's getting bigger and bigger. And
what's the biggest change in the business you've seen from 1,000 years ago up until now when you started?
Cart machines to seat. No, I don't.
I remember the cart machines, hideous, like little 8-tracks. Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh! Yes. Oh, well,
Eric, you think you have it tough now? Just be thankful it's not the old days. Bernie probably remembers carts, don't you, B?
Did you ever have to clean them with the alcohol swabs? Get all that black gunk off?
Yes, and splicing tape.
When I first started, Don, you'll love this. I used to have to splice highlights. I would be running hockey games live and cue up the reel and splice highlights. I try to tell some young kids now how easy it is when you sit at a computer and you type away to do audio editing. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah, and I'll bet you got it down to where you could splice a breath.
Absolutely. That little blue tape.
Yep.
And and I used to, I'm doing the hand motions now, Chad, when I used to remember queuing it up, the reels. But it's amazing how much technology has changed.
See, that's what I love about Bernie. He's been around the business for so long, so he's been there and done that. He's a grinder.
I'll tell you, that's a treasure. When you spliced something, you really took. I mean, it made you feel good. You took pride in it. But now, with the computers, you can slice, dice, and do anything. There's nothing.
It's incredible. Now, tell me real quick, Saturday night, 7 to 8, where can people view Portland Wrestling?
It's on...
Portland Wrestling Uncut.
Yes. It's on KPTX, Channel 13 or Channel 49. And what they use me at times to introduce the flashbacks. So some of the things that we're talking about right now with Buddy Rose and Rip Oliver and all these, that's what I introduce.
And before you're done here today, you've got the memory of all memories, you told me.
Yes. Oh, yes.
All right, save that. Let's go back to the phones. Okay. My man Mike in Ridgefield is on. Mike, thanks for calling in. You're on with me and Don.
Hey, Chad, Don. This is so awesome. I was 10 years old watching these guys. And 2 things. Frank Bonham's voice, I mean, if he were speaking today, I would probably crash my car.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was just that's what it was. And you really have to get, and I called in about 6 months ago when this subject came up, you really have to get Dutch Savage in studio. He just lives up in Yakult or La Center or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he could have run for mayor back in the 70s.
And won.
Without a doubt. His opponents, and there's actually a mini mart up here in Ridgefield. The owner has probably 20 pictures of Jimmy Snuka all over his store. And he's not even of this country, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, it's very far reaching. That era, it's a lot deeper than people think.
Well, that's a terrific phone call. Thank you, Mike.
You bet, Mike. Thank you.
Now, this goes back to what you're talking about. That, well, let's take another phone call, and then I've got a thought that we were talking about before the program. Okay. Let's go out to Kaiser. It's Kevin. Kevin, thanks for calling in. You're on with Don Coss. Fire away.
Hey, gentlemen. Hey, first off, I'm going to preface this call. This isn't a downer, but, I am not a wrestling fan. I am not a wrestling guy. However, I have to tell you, again, I was like the last caller. I was born in the mid-'60s. And I recall what Don's speaking about, broadcast television, signing off at midnight. We had wrestling, Sinister Cinema. It filled a niche. So as I'm listening to your interview tonight, even though I'm not a wrestling fan, I am so sucked into it, and I am brought back to that niche that was filled as a kid and just what it meant. And as wrestling progressed, I have a question. As it progressed, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to it, but then it became the super sport it was, I remember telling my friends, saying, hey, this stuff started back in Portland. I remember this.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we grew up on. Hey, Don, what role did Portland wrestling have, if you could speak to this, in the development of the early wrestling transforming into the super mega thing that it was now? Because I remember it going, telling my buddies, this is nothing new.
That's an incredible phone call, Kevin, because I had no idea that was going to be your question, but you walked us right into where I wanted to take you. You were talking about community, and what you found is with Portland Wrestling coming back now with Portland Wrestling Uncut, people want wrestling. They don't want the big sideshow with the ladies with the big racks and stuff. They want wrestling.
That's right. And Portland Wrestling is now about 83 years old. And it started with Don Owen's father way back when. Don Owen's father bought Gorgeous George his first suit. Gorgeous George married a Portland lady. Gorgeous George, of course, became probably the first legendary superstar in pro wrestling. That was back in the 40s. When Gorgeous George died, it was my understanding that was the first time in the city of Los Angeles history that they closed down City Hall for a funeral.
Amazing.
And that was of Gorgeous George. So Portland Wrestling has been a launching pad for the superstars that have gone on to huge stardom, and it carried on through. I think it started in the late 20s, 30s, and then as we got into the television age, it was first on Channel 6, and then it was on Channel 12, of course, and it stayed there, and it had celebrities doing the play-by-plays. I mean, Barney Keep, Gene Brendler. I mean, all these guys that through the years did the play-by-play, and then Frank Bonema took it over in the mid-'60s and became synonymous with Portland Wrestling. But Portland Wrestling has been the springboard of people like Roddy Piper and Adrian Adonis and Cold Stone Steve Austin. I mean, Jimmy Snuka, for crying out loud.
Snuka.
Yeah. And it's just, it has been, what you were talking about is just dead on, right on, because Portland Wrestling was wrestling, and when the WWF came along, and then later became the WWE, in my mind, it destroyed wrestling, because it no longer was wrestling. It was circus. It was a carnival. It was a sex machine of some kind. It just, and even Roddy, I had talked with him. He said, with what Vince McMahon started was very little wrestling. There may have been about 5 minutes of wrestling, actual wrestling in a 1 or 2 hour show. And Roddy Piper was one of the founders of WrestleMania back in 1983. It was Roddy's idea.
The memory of all memories, Portland Wrestling, give it to me.
Well, this is a two-parter. I'm only going to have time for one part, but it's good. Jimmy Snuka, Bull Ramos in a match. Tom Peterson had brought in a brand new tabletop television. He wanted me to do a spot on this and take care of it. Don't let anything happen to this TV. I just got it in. It's important. I said, no problem, sir. I'll take care of it. Tom could not be there that night because he had something else to do. So here we go with Jimmy Snuka and Bull Ramos coming up for an interview. I forgot who knocked who down, but it was Bull Ramos. Snuka was knocked down during an interview in the crow's nest. Bull Ramos is all over him. I'm right there. I'm watching this thing. Bull Ramos is putting that big meat hook hand, smashing it down on actually Snuka's neck, but Snuka is throwing his jaw like he got hit in the jaw. Second power, man, same thing. The third one caught Snuka right smack dab on the jaw, and at that point, Snuka jumped up. He was mad. We had an actual fight right there in the crow's nest. They were shoving TV cameras around, and Snuka came over to my desk, and the first thing that caught his eye was Tom Peterson's tabletop television. He picked it up, he threw it at Ramos. Ramos ducked, and it smashed against that chicken wire. Remember the chicken wire we have there in the Crows? The TV just smashed and fell on the floor in pieces. And I thought, oh, my gosh, what's going to happen to me now? And after everything was cleaned up, that Monday, I got a call from Tom Peterson. He said, I want to see you at the store. I said, yes, sir. I came over to the store, and he said, I was able to watch and see what happened to my TV. I said, I'm sorry, sir. Really, I did everything I could protect, but they came over and they just grabbed. I know. He said, listen, I ended up selling that for more than I actually had it priced. He said, I had a guy come in, he bought it in pieces. He said, now, I've got a stereo this time, and take it with you, and I don't care what happens to it. I said, wow, so I'm not in trouble? No, you're not in trouble. It's okay. That was, I went from sheer, stark fear to, wow. How fantastic is that?
I've still got somewhere, I've got to find it. I've still got the Tom Peterson watch with his mug right in the center of it.
Wake up. Yeah. Oh, great memories. Great. And what a wonderful guy. Magnificent guy. One of the world's most great people, Tom Peterson.
Well, I tell you what, Don, to me, you're one of the world's most wonderful people. Thank you so much, because without you, I wouldn't be here. And to be able to have you come in is an honor, and to talk memories and radio and stuff was awesome.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My, and believe me, you've got the greatest audience in the radio world.
There you go. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Donn Coss from June of 2013, who just passed away at the age of 85. He was a longtime Portland wrestling announcer, radio station owner, and a great broadcaster himself, and a terrific mentor and a friend to me when I needed it most. So my condolences to his family. I hope you enjoyed that. I love you, Don, and I'm always going to remember you. Don't forget, tomorrow, Trailblazers action will start at 2:30 with Blazers Game Day, hosted by Chris Burkhart. Tip-off with the Nets are at 4:30. And don't forget, you can always catch every Trailblazer game streaming live on our free iHeartRadio app.